Hi, I'm Joseph Markovich, and my life changed completely yesterday when I found out that my father is in late stage form of dementia, or whatever, however you want to call it. And I'm crushed. I'm absolutely mentally crushed to hear this. So I've decided that I'm going to talk about it. And hopefully it's going to make me feel better. And I can somehow process all of this rage and sadness and anger and frustration and helplessness and rage and anger and sadness and anxiety and helplessness, that I can actually this will help me process it and maybe help somebody else. So it's day one. Well, it's day two, but it was day one yesterday. And it's quite an out-of-body experience when the neurologist says he's not going to get any better. And we can do things to slow it down, but this is it. And then is when the tears fall, the sadness overtakes, and then the rage starts and the helplessness. And I think back now, knowing this, it's like, well, Dad's having an off day, or he's tired today because he's 74 and he's not going to sit and do everything that he used to do. But after hearing yesterday, like, a lot of things make more sense now. My dad and I would talk all the time, whether it was text, email, phone calls, and all that seemed to stop. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm in some form of denial, or like there's clearly something going on. But it's like, no, it's just that, he's tired. He doesn't have anything to say, anything like that. And this is coming from a person who is a talker like me. We are talkers, him and me. We could talk for hours about everything, nothing, whatever. Then, finding out, so my dad was very big into doing this volunteer work for, like, genealogy. And he has adopted all these counties on the U.S. Gen Web, where he compiles and keeps all the information. People send him things to update the website, and it's meant to be a free resource. And he loves it. He loves doing it. But I find out yesterday that he hasn't done it in weeks. It's because he can't. And so then, like, now it makes more sense of, like, okay, I don't, Mom would call me and Dad would be on the other phone, or she would hand the phone over, and then we'd talk for another hour about just stuff. And all that stopped. And then the neurologist tells us, well, I've seen this 1,000 times, and he's been hiding it for years. And that is just another just absolute mental crush. That, like, why are you hiding this? Am I this dumb that I haven't noticed that he's been different? And then how much has my mother noticed? And she's been keeping it quiet to not worry me. And that's it. Like, what so all these little things now make sense. And now I don't make sense of what, but all these little things adding up to, like, Dad doesn't email anymore, or he doesn't do the genealogy work anymore, because he can't. He can't. He'll if he'll try, he'll get stymied, and then he'll be frustrated. And then the other thing that was something that I noticed is my dad's had a stutter all his life that I remember, because I remember I one time like mocked him of it, and he yelled at me, and I got in a lot of trouble as a kid. And his stutter is back, and where I can see my dad's brain processing, but he can't get the words out, and then he gets frustrated, and then he stops. So then I went through the whole rage thing with my mother. Like, why didn't you tell me? Did you not notice this was going on? Did you not notice he was acting different? Were you hiding this and just supporting him and like making sure that he stayed okay? And then like even like they wouldn't go anywhere. Like they do errands around town and stuff like that, but they never go anywhere. And a friend of ours who's been a nurse for a long, long time said that like he's been in his like comfort zone of like, I know all of this in the house, so I don't want to leave it. And that's why they didn't leave it. So I'm just so frustrated that I can't do anything, but I have to be supportive. And I don't want to be mad, but I continue to get mad that this has happened. And we just have to take it a day at a time. He's still in the hospital right now, waiting to get released. And the thing that really turned into a huge, like, oh my God, something is wrong, is my dad had to have 2 stents put in. And the night of that happening, he was essentially talking gibberish home. And it's like, okay, he was slightly sedated, and he's still recovering from like the sedation and everything. And the next day we went to go see him, and he was better, but he still wasn't 100%. And then again, like you attribute it to like, well, Dad just had a procedure. Everybody recovers differently. You know, it's going to take a little more time. But then on the day before taking him to the emergency on Thursday, we go see my parents. We see him at least twice a week. And we always go for Wednesday dinner. And at dinner, Sean, who's my husband, immediately noticed that he was like off. And I was clearly in denial. And it's like, oh, hey, Dad, how are you? Everything's cool. Yay, I'm glad you're feeling better, and blah, blah, blah. And then he went on this absolute bender about the house keys, that the cabinet had too much stuff in it, all the appliances were stolen, he didn't know where he was, and he was so agitated. And I had to, call my mom in tears in the morning and say, you must get him to the doctor, and you must get him, or take him to the ER. And if she wasn't going to do it, then I was just going to call 911 and have them take him in the ambulance to the hospital. So obviously that is where, like, I was horrified that night of like, what in the fuck is going on with my father, and what is happening here? Is it from the stents? Is he having some kind of weird like episode? What is this? And then so in the ER, and he's agitated, and then they admit him because of they want to keep him under observation. And he tried to leave, so he ripped out the IV and tried to leave during the night. And then of course there are all the panic and anxiety and rage and tears and sad and everything comes out. And and so yesterday when after the neurologist came, I had to leave. I was so distraught. I couldn't stay there anymore. And my mom understood, and I hope she understood, that I'm not like trying to like run away from it, but I couldn't deal with it anymore. And the biggest thing that's troubling me with all this is that my father is silent. And he doesn't talk anymore. And we talk all the time. And he doesn't talk anymore. And that is the hardest thing for me to see, is that he's just silent and sitting there and like rocking. And it's the hardest part. And I know he's in there, but I don't know where he is. And I just want him to be comfortable and safe and loved. And that's it. And know that we're here for him. Because when you get told that your father is in a late stage form of dementia, and he's saying that this has been happening for years, that he's been hiding it. It is such a shock, and it is such a kick in the face of how could this happen? And how could it be me? And how did nobody notice? And how did this, like, why? Like, what's the why? And I don't want anyone else to go through this and deal with this and be so surprised that something's wrong. And that's it. So I've decided during this whole journey that I'm going to document it. Because I need this for myself, and for Sean, and for my mom, and for my dad. I love him so much.